strong advocate against long distance relationships, and I only say that based on the expectations and really where we are as a dating generation. It's not there anymore. We have so much access to communicate and connect with one another, but we're still probably the most disconnected generation right now when we're dating, because we got so much influence, we got so much input, we got so much information, and it's like, you should be here. You should be here with me if I want you. I miss you. I want to see you, and that's just not realistic. And sometimes that can wear down. So the first question was, do you think it's worth it? If it works and it fits for those two or three, in some case, I'm open. Again, we in a different generation. If it works, then it works. But it's worth is really, like you said, valued at those expectations, and if you can meet them.
Mr. Gangsta Grills himself, aka DJ Drum.
Professionally, on a professional level, we got photographers, we got videographers. You know, I'm in healthcare. You know, Duke is a dentist. Anybody need a root canal? That's your boy. You know, anybody need anything? It's important that we make sure that we take care of each other as black men. You know what I mean? And continue to build and be great. So it's a toast. This is a toast of good energy. Absolutely. Positive vibes. Yes, sir.
Traveling on my dream trips, no imagining. Every time you hate, you keep attracting it. Opposite tract, I guess I'm
Welcome back to Black Fly on the Wall. We have another loaded episode for you today. Clip. Yes, sir. But before we get into that, let's introduce our guest. We got a new face on the podcast to my right. Introduce yourself, Grizz.
What's going on? Yep, Grizz. Corey Bennett, a.k.a. CB. Grizz is the Instagram name, the brand that was built there, but CB Busy Grizzly, model, ambassador, nonprofit executive, agile professional, and a number of other things. Stay busy.
Yes, sir. All right, to my left.
Hey, man, y'all know what it is.
Familiar
Sam
face.
I am, the master man. Shout out to Grizz for the bracelets. Appreciate you, brother.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you rocking it. Get busy. We about to get busy on this episode for real.
All right, to my far left.
Good day, good day. Y'all know me. It's Dr. OKK in the building. I'm just here to talk my talk.
He ain't got the ball head for showing for y'all today.
Oh yeah, not
ladies.
tonight, not too well. You know, I could whip it off in the middle of the episode. Depends on how hot it get.
All right, man. Today's episode is long distance relationships. Ooh. Are they worth it?
We definitely gonna get into
I guess that's the first question. Do you feel like they're worth it?
Yeah, I'll go first. It's hard to say, are they worth it? Because really you're not challenging the worth of the long distance. You're challenging the worth of the relationship. So really you can really make it work. I was in a long distance relationship. There were times where it was really great, and then there were times where it wasn't so great. So I would say it can be worth it and it can't be, but it really just comes down to like how bad do you want that relationship with that person.
What about you, Duke?
I personally believe they can work, but I'm not a proponent for them.
Okay, why not?
Mainly because now we were talking about this earlier, there are nuances within that relationship that become very apparent when you start talking heavy, right? And so effectively when you lead out, you got to know that this is coming. And so if you don't recognize it in the beginning, you can't necessarily plan for it. And the nuance, I guess we'll get into later, because I feel like everybody can agree. You know what I mean? Though men are visual, we're also physical. Right?
Absolutely.
So if I'm talking to you every day and I'm looking at you every day, I'm going to need you around, right? And if you're not around, you're asking me to basically commit to an empty promise.
Okay. That's strong.
So
need that energy.
You know what I'm saying?
Need it.
So that's why they can work, but I'm not a proponent for them.
Okay.
Right?
Corey, what you got?
Strong advocate against long distance relationships, and I only say that based on the expectations and really where we are as a dating generation. It's not there anymore. We have so much access to communicate and connect with one another, but we're still probably the most disconnected generation right now when we're dating, because we got so much influence, we got so much input, we got so much information, and it's like, you should be here. You should be here with me if I want you. I miss you. I want to see you. And that's just not realistic. And sometimes that can wear down. So the first question was, do you think it's worth it? If it works and it fits for those 2 or 3, in some case, I'm open. Again, we in a different generation. If it works, then it works. But it's is really, like you said, valued at those expectations and if you can meet them.
Okay. All right. Good. My opinion is I do think they're worth it. I think the very first thing is establishing expectations. We have an episode in the past called Unrealistic Expectations and High Standards for Dating, right? And then I believe that the emphasis from that conversation mostly lied around, do you establish realistic expectations for your relationship whenever you all decide to go long distance, right? That's the key. If you have the same expectations for a woman that's living in New Orleans and you're in North Carolina, for a woman that's living down the street from you or 10 to 15 minutes from you or even less than an hour from you, you already losing.
She can't compete. Yeah.
She can't compete.
Yeah.
So as a man, if you're the one that's dealing with the anguish of a long distance relationship and you're saying it's not working, you first have to establish, are my expectations in line with what I want? Right. So I think that's key. Go ahead, Sam.
I think it's hard to start a relationship long distance, right? Because like you said, you want to have that foundation, right? For me, for example, we started together and then we became long distance, right? But I think when you become long distance, those things become really big, right? Whereas, are we talking? Do we need to talk every day? Do we need to go to sleep on the phone together? Do we need to have a date night every night a week or some type of situation or some type of schedule? And I think when you don't have those things in line, that's when you kind of become, like I said, create that competition because it's like, dang, we ain't been out on a date in a month, but I'm turning down dates left and right. Or maybe she's getting advances every day and she's like, well, I'm seeing people who telling me things in person and my person who I'm with, I can't really get that from on a physical aspect. So I think it does become a little tough, but like I said, it really has to come down to what you're looking for, the end goal, and having an end goal.
Nice.
Can't do it forever.
Duke, what you got?
Those are the nuances I'm talking about, right? Like, I personally believe, and this is more of a blanket generalization, a blanket statement, but I personally believe men and women handle long distance very differently, right? Like, again, men are physical, visual individuals. Like, that's what we need. We need that presence in front of us. Women is conceptual for the most part. They'll sit back and say, I don't have a problem not doing X, Y, and Z. Why is it so hard for you?
Right.
We're different creatures.
Absolutely.
So it's just like you're asking me to explain my biology and how it fits into my overall thought process, but how?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not God to understand my genetics and how my code works out, but I am man enough to understand that my actions have repercussions and consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I need to reason through my actions and things of that nature. So if I know for a fact that I'm a visual, physical person, I'm not going to lean towards a long-distance relationship.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But again, that idea is one that's a concept for women to really stand on. That can make sense because it's just commitment.
Well, that would lean more on your woman as well because you have to first establish what your love languages are as a man. Right. So if physical touch is something that's high on your chart, you understand that, okay, I need my woman physically with me for me to maintain a strong connection with her. And I believe that, managing long distance relationships is something that's individual to everybody. Like Corey, you was like, I don't agree with them. Why is the reason why you strongly disagree with them?
So I'm very practical, right? So you can call it my zodiac or you can call it the way I was raised or whatever, but I believe that a way you show up in relationship is through action and it's through practice. So if physically my presence can't be consistently there for you, I probably am going to lack meeting a need that you may need in a partner. That's my belief. It's the physical presence. And it's not because touch is a love language because I'm a quality time, but right there,
she needs to be there
about time. Yeah. So you can try to adjust and change your love language. You can change how your partner shows up for you, and you could set all these expectations. But at the core of who we are, when we get selfish, when we hear something that's in disagreement from what we want, if we have longed for something and your partner is not making it happen, or scheduling doesn't work, or you can't catch a flight, or you can't make the road trip, or it don't make no sense to come because it's not enough time together, when those things start to add up, I feel like our core nature of what we want is going to always supersede what we're available to have at the time. And not having that time there will build things like resentment, and then you'll be open to other advances. You'll be open to other things that are more convenient, and then next thing you know, you go from, well, we're not connecting and we're not talking, and I think, you know, maybe we have to call it. But
that's a strong point though, because as an advocate for somebody for any type of relationship, whether she, you know, I've been in relationships where I've been in the same city as a woman and it didn't work out. I'm in a long distance relationship right now and it's perfect. And I believe that the main thing that I've learned through my years of maturing is you have to prioritize connecting and not just talking. That's the key. Because if you're just talking to talk, you're on the phone, you're like, all right, whatever it may be. Even now that I'm in a long distance relationship, it's times where if I'm having a long day and I need to decompress, I still do that. I don't say, oh, let me push myself to talk because I'm in a long distance relationship. No, I handle myself the same as if she was right up the street or living in the same home as me. So I think like you have to prioritize like the connections. Like I think, can we all agree that we've been in a relationship with a woman in the same city as us and we didn't connect?
Facts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes we have to assess, okay, is it the distance or is it the relationship? Or is it the tactics of the relationships and the foundation of the relationship as well? And I think, too, we have to also migrate the conversation to all distances and created equal.
That's real.
You know, so whereas myself, I get to see my woman consistently every week, every weekend, multiple times a week based on her work schedule, whatever it may be. But if she lives 2 or 3 states or 4 states away where the only way to really get to her is a flight, then that can be more challenging than to you driving to your relationship. What do you think, Corey?
Yeah, all distance is not created equal.
That's a hashtag.
All distance is not created equal. And the thing about it is when I talk about access, so Doc, you made a good point. There's always different spaces you could be in that are close to you and you get advances and different things you're seeing. We get so much input, right? I'll say if you're probably in a long distance relationship, there's been some part of social media that's come into play, right? It may have opened the door for you. And I think just for me, my platform, so I'm on the gram pretty heavy or whatever. I've met a lot of people out of friendships.
That's your office.
Basically. A lot of businesses, a lot of opportunities, but I met some really good people. And I've also met other people that, you know, wanted to take it another step and talk and all this other kind of stuff. But I'm very truthful about who I am. And I know for me, how often will I really be around? And I'm never that person to think I'm the exception.
Right.
I always believe that I am an option. I may be a good one, maybe showing up strong, maybe viable. You may be even piecing together what a future may look like. But I've always believed in myself as an option. Therefore, I kind of think like an option. How can I one up? How can I stay in this position? But when I stop thinking like that,
because
don't get too comfortable.
You looking at yourself as an option keeps you humble.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, whenever you start thinking that you're greater than, in any instance, you already lost. You better catch an L. You better catch an L. What's your thoughts on that, Sam?
So it's tough, man, because like I said, you really in assessing is it worth it or not, right? So
based on your personal experiences, like you referenced the 3 hours away relationship that you had, or you know, however many hours it was.
Yeah, so we did North Carolina and Atlanta. That was our distance, right? Okay. And which is a 6-hour ride, and sometimes it's feasible, like you said. Well, look, I ain't trying to get caught up, right? Yeah. 6 hour ride. You know, sometimes 7. I be chilling cruise control. Yeah. But you know, sometimes it's feasible, sometimes it's not, right? And then you do have those situations where it's not, and it does kind of get combative. And I'm gonna be honest, right? I think it's beneficial, right? Because I know me personally, sometimes I'm a Virgo, so I don't know if this plays into, like you said, the zodiac, but sometimes I just want to be me and be alone, right? And in a long-distance relationship, I get to do that. When I turn on the boyfriend, I'm the best boyfriend because I'm doing it for 5 hours, right? For the month total, right? I'm clocking 5 hours of boyfriend time for the month. Yeah. But when I turn it off, it gives me that time to really assess like who I am and grow. So when I was in a long-distance relationship, I saw tremendous growth. Right, I entered a different space of like social media, and we did have that combativeness because when we did share time together, I remember one time, to be specific, I was approached and somebody said, "You're on Black Fly on the Wall," right? And I was like, "Yeah." So I was talking, and I just felt something, right? I turn around, and my person is like grilling me. And that was just uncomfortable for her because she had never experienced me in this position because of the distance.
Because of the distance.
Right. So that was a conversation that we had where it was like, hey, this is who I'm growing into. This is where I see myself going. I need you to be okay with this, or this is definitely not going to work, right? And I think when you're in a long-distance relationship, we talk about love languages, right? I'm a physical touch, quality time type of person. I had to make that adjustment because I thought it was worth it. Right, and I knew that I was going to lack having that physical touch, so I adjusted, right? And then when the relationship ended and I got into another relationship, I longed for physical touch. You could just touch my hand and I felt it, right? Because I had went so long without it that it became the top of my list on my next relationship. So if you just give me a hug, it's making my day because I haven't felt that from my person in a long time. Right,
men need nurture.
Yeah, so you got to kind of make those adjustments. So I think it's good and it's bad. But it really comes down to, like you said, does it work for the two people? Are they communicating? And that really the two key factors. Are you communicating and adjusting with each other and growing with each other?
And, I think another point that we have to add, too, when it comes down to long-distance relationships is that you have to, if it does happen, and I think this also can take a play into if you're in a relationship that's not long-distance, is being fully present when you're with that person. That's key. Because whether you're with a girl and she lives down the street, or you're with the woman and she lives states away or a drive away or whatever it may be, if you're trying to focus on growing your relationship, you have to be present when you're with the person. Because like my mind can't be on Black Fly on the Wall. My mind can't be on fraternity business. My mind can't be on business or progression in my field. My mind has to be fully present with that person. So I think the next question is, how are you managing your investment with the relationship, right? So even if it is a long distance one or a short distance one, what's the investment? Dude, what you think? What's the investment? What are you willing to put into it? Because any woman to tell you they want their man mentally present whenever they're with them.
Right. Everything that we've said up until this point, and your question is a great segue to this, leads to intimacy. Being very real. No relationship can flourish without it, right? And how you display it, project it, receive it, perceive it, that is completely based on that individual. So in that space, you got to learn who you with, know who you with. That's where communication comes in, right? You got the communication down. All right, bet. Now you got the distance. Ooh, all right. So we got to talk about how we feel,
right?
But I can't necessarily experience that in truth, because I'm looking at you via FaceTime or I'm reading it via text. It's not an actual read on the energy. It's not an actual, dissemination of vibration. It's more just you telling me something and I got to read it and basically make it up in my mind on how it really feels.
Right.
So you're asking someone to, again, commit to an empty promise. So the investment is based on how you value the intimacy that person gave you.
Okay.
Right? So it's just like, all right, if I'm with this person and I feel like the whole world opened up to me, I'm going to put time in, right? If you're with that person and they are literally a muse for you, when you're with them, you're sitting with them, ideas come left and right. You got so much inspiration. You got everything just flowing at that point in time because you're just simply in this person's presence. Yeah. That's something you might want to invest in despite the distance.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so that, again, that's just a measure of...
They could be stretching you thin, too.
And that's enough. I was going to thank
for real. For real. Trust
that segue, because that person also knows their value to you, right? And so now they'll start making requests of you as if they were really there, right? Oh, I don't like how you move with this particular situation. He talked about it already. Social media, blah, 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 blah. Well, if you know this is how I make my money, or this is a realm that I want to enter into, then you got to be more okay
flexible.
with that.
Yeah. Flexible
right?
in that.
And so you don't want to call it insecurity, but
no, please don't put a label on it.
You feel what I'm saying? It's just like,
as soon as a label come on you, it's over for you. Don't put no label.
See it now. I'm just looking at
with your woman, fellas. Don't put no label. Please don't use labels.
You look at it and you say, okay, I understand the ration. You want to understand the rationale anyway, right? So you'll sit back and compromise there, right?
What role does the lack of vulnerability play?
Oh, it's huge. You can't ask for intimacy and be a brick wall.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? You can't ask for intimacy and legit be Stonewall Jackson,
especially over FaceTime. Especially over FaceTime.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like vulnerability is a major proponent to intimacy.
like it was the funny thing is the example for me is that like one of the best dates me and my girl had is whenever it snowed during Valentine's Day, and we did a FaceTime date on Valentine's Day, cooking, vibing. I sent her the food, and I ordered the same food. I sent it to her Amazon Prime. I went and bought the same things. We did a cooking, kind of like a cooking class kind of together, and that was one of the dopest dates that we've had because that was intimacy. And so sometimes I think as black men or as men in general, we learn about intimacy from so many media outlets that we think intimacy is all related to physical. Where it's really a connection. Intimacy is all about the connection of the mind, right? Because you can be physically involved with a woman and not be intimate because mentally you all aren't connected and on the same wavelength.
Throw a wrench in that real quick.
Go ahead.
You can't say that you fully have engaged in intimacy without the physical aspect.
Yes.
Right? Because if y'all connected minds, that's cool. But now y'all got to share those vibrations. Y'all got to actually get in each other's space to see if you amplify or you destroy. Right? So it's just like, all right.
And that's a good segue because I think another strong point between managing a long distance relationship is prioritizing your sex life. And I believe that too. I think everybody works and grinds and those type of things, but that part as a man has to be a priority whenever you see your woman.
Know that cycle, fellas. Do not book that flight around that cycle. Do not book that flight around that cycle. I hate to say it, but hey, look, do not book that flight around that cycle. You'll be mad. You'll be mad. But that's also connection, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's open communication.
That's a connection, right?
That's facts.
And let me challenge the idea you talked about investments, right? I think a lot of times when people talk about long distance relationships, they're speaking from a boyfriend and girlfriend, right? And challenge it to say, all right, if this person was my wife or my husband, and say you got a job, it requires you to travel, you're not going to end your marriage because your husband has to travel, a couple of times a month, or your wife has to travel. Yeah,
I think you touched on something.
That's the
Sam.
investment aspect.
The key to it is though,
people are actually dating to marry.
Is exactly dating with intent.
Exactly.
So like, if you automatically have the strong point in your mind, like, okay, this is going to be my wife. And then she has a strong point. This is going to be my husband. You understand that everything is temporary.
Yeah, that distance will,
and that makes it worth it.
Right. And so, like, I think that's another point to bring up is that, are you looking at distance as this is a permanent thing? Because it may not be healthy to be in a long distance relationship if you have your roots in Charlotte and are not open to moving.
Right.
She has her roots in Los Angeles and she is not open to moving.
Rethink that whole process.
That's not. There has to be a sliding scale where you both are working to. She is working to get to Charlotte. You are working to go to LA.
Got to be a plan.
There has to be a goal and set. I think another thing that the guests can leave with too. Another thing that's beneficial for me and could be beneficial for them is sharing calendars.
Absolutely.
Definitely have a calendar.
Like, you talking about
coordinate.
Right.
Look, I'm back.
That's
to
long
being
distance
very
or not,
practical.
though.
Yeah,
right.
Sharing calendars, agendas, however you want to do it. You share notes through the iPhone. You share the note. We add all these things we want to do. Let's create a list of things that we're going to do when we're together. You got to be very practical about things like that. But back to the investment question, I firmly believe every relationship is deposits and withdrawals. You put in that time, you do something, and then when I need to cash in or withdraw for an emergency fund, I need you to emergency-wise understand me. I need you to leave me alone for a little while. You ghost for a little minute, and I can't let my insecurities build and project on you to cause a different disagreement that's going to last 2-3 days, and now we haven't talked, and now we're not connected. See how quick that goes? Relationships ain't nothing but deposits and withdrawals. I'm making a flight, you booking a flight. We doing this together, we got a first experience. We're capturing these pictures, we live and we having a good time. Let's remember, we will need a withdrawal eventually. But all of that still go back to communication and talking, and that goes into the point, it is an investment. You're never always up. If you got whatever, you got Robinhood, Acorn, whatever you want to do, you in Bitcoin, you in crypto, you're never going to always be up.
Never.
But are you going to withstand and hold when it comes time?
Next
thing you know, out of nowhere, market look good and something works or something can open up. So I talk about it, in a business mindset or money or currency or whatever, but it is to the root of what we do.
That's what men understand.
You know what I mean?
That's the balance that I feel like that's masculine. That's masculine energy, right? So like being more practical and straightforward with your thoughts is more masculine energy, where more feminine energy is more free flowing. Oh, we will make it work. It'll come as it comes, and it's not. Men really sometimes a part of us does not operate like that. We want to be able to look at goals and outcomes. If we do this, what result will it yield, right? And as a man, that helps you. And then you also have to understand, as your woman, she may be more free flowing and saying, okay, if I see him around this time, we just go with it and it's going to work out, and that's perfectly fine. I think that it's all about balance in what we do. Yep. All right, so real quick, fly conversations.
Oh God.
And I got a good one for you.
Oh God.
You got 30 seconds to answer this question. Fly conversations is a rapid fire question that we throw out. Duke, you look nervous. And
Channeling my inner Yeezy for
okay.
this one. Yeah.
Oh my God.
30 seconds.
Let me triangulate.
Scenario. You are preparing to propose to a young lady. She lives in the same city as you. Everything is going great. She expresses her interest in moving 6 hours away to a job that she's been working to get. What is your reaction? Yes.
Go ahead.
If I'm preparing to propose, it means we've had a conversation about marriage.
Yes.
She's already agreed to take this job. We're thinking about it.
She's coming to you about it.
She's coming to me about it.
But she really, really wants it. And you know your woman in your head, and you know good and well that she coming to you about it. 9 times out of 10, she already made a decision in her head that she gonna take it.
The proposal wouldn't be off the table. It wouldn't be off the table, but it could be postponed.
Okay.
Because I need that. That's only another.
You need to see how she gonna act.
Yeah, that's only another try to see, can we last and go through that? Because maybe we didn't experience long distance before. We've been right at my house. You pull up, I pull up at yours, whatever. We got drawers at each other's houses, and now we're gonna go to 6 hours apart. Let's see how we rock with this. That proposal is forever, right? That's what we're doing.
Really?
So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's off the table, but it's definitely let's table it.
You would table that, and would you would communicate that to her?
I don't want to tell her I was getting ready to propose.
Well, maybe not that, but you would say, if you were thinking that I was going to propose in the next year, it may not happen.
Yeah, if you got a timeline that's been pushed back, you just threw a wrench in it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Sam.
Yeah, that's tough. I would love to say that we're assessing this move, because is it so beneficial to our relationship and our future that you must take this? If not, can we move around that? Do you have to go? If it is like a major move, like this could really set her up for the future, both of us, like our family be straight, I might fuck around and move. To be honest, like shit, I might start looking at cribs. But yeah, I think like you said, it's one of those things where you really got to have a conversation. And if I'm planning to propose, it's gonna put a little halt in it, because now we got to figure out, what does our life look like in this new city? Will you be there for maybe 2 years and then want to come back, or will we look at possibly starting a future in this place? So, like you said, that's what we're going to have to look at. Am I working to move to you, and you working to move to me, and we meet in the middle?
What's the plan?
Yeah. So I think as long as you got a plan and communicate, it can work. But you're definitely going to halt something. You don't want to propose and then she move, and then now y'all been engaged for 4 years because it really didn't work out like that. So
okay, Duke.
It's a timing issue. That's really all it comes down to. I've already made up in my mind, if I'm thinking to propose, this woman's going to be my wife. So it's just a timing issue. Again, the distance wouldn't matter, because, again, I've already made up in my mind
that this woman
is going to be my wife.
Which is a strong decision to make.
When men make that decision,
decided to make you are my soul's home, right? Like, I'm connected to you. You know what I'm saying? So in that space, I'm definitely going. If she decide, I want to take this job, because like you said, if she can't deal with the idea, she probably like to make
it. Yeah, in her mind, she don't talk to her homegirls and everything.
She wants the whole family first. So it's just like, all right, cool. Like, you made that decision, and is this beneficial for us? If it is, then bet. Because I've already decided this is going to be my wife.
Nice. Fly conversations, man. It was a very, very good conversation. I think that everybody put everything on the table. We touched on a lot of topics related to, establishing expectations, scheduling time together, prioritizing connections, sharing calendars, a lot of tangible things that people can walk away from. But I think the one I like the most is the vulnerability. Here at Black Fly on the Wall, we want men to communicate. We want men to be vulnerable. And fellas, if you feel like you can't be vulnerable with your woman, she may not be the one at all, not even related to long distance. So being vulnerable is key, and prioritizing each other and assessing the investment. So again, Black Fly on the Wall, long distance relationships, are they worth it?